he's just going to, go into the 5th pick slot because the ability to doom someone and completely lock them out, especially if Invoker is going to be first pick in this new metagame, it seems like he is not going to move from that spot.
Yeah,
having Doom on your side is just such a huge asset to just point click, lock him down. He's going to be doing nothing in that fight. But at the same time, teams really have to figure out the Doom's cooldown. Is that really worth picking up the hero? Is Infernal Blade really that much of a better change? Is it a worse change? And I think that these teams aren't quite there yet, but they're still experimenting. Yet experimenting with the 2nd pick, that's a pretty high commitment there from Team Spirit. I don't think it's going to be an IO Doom as the quote-unquote IO partnership.
Yeah, I think that, well, I'm a little bit curious if there's maybe some value there. If you think about the way that this hero works, it's much more about like the right-click damage, and it feels a little bit more bursty in a certain way. So if you're able to get somebody to pop Lincolns and then you doom them on in afterwards and possibly get a little bit more burst damage coming out by that nature, it might end up working, but you're probably right that it's not going to be as effective. I like the Bane pickup. This is something that's going to work pretty well against whatever IO combo they go for. Because you're going to be able to Nightmare up on the relocate. And I think that this is, to me at least, where you see a little bit more of the combo come out from the IO Doom, where maybe you're not necessarily going to relocate in on top of somebody, but instead what you do is you just have him standing up on the high ground. Maybe you end up getting an Aegis on him, and he right-clicks down the tower. Also, if you think about one of the main ways that they ended up nerfing him, they increased his base attack time. So maybe now what you end up having is the overcharge, work down, double down there, tethered up, and continuing to right-click. And while Infernal Blade is going to be on a little bit of a too long of a cooldown to make it incredibly significant, you're probably still going to be building him rather as a fairly durable right-click damage dealer. And to me, that seems like it could be a relatively potent combo. But Lich also going to be going to try and double down on these lanes. Do you think that this is going to be that Lich Doom duel off lane?
I think probably it's going to be that. You do get a little bit of an extra benefit since you have creeps in the offlane that you can eat from now, so you don't have to go into the jungle to start things off, and the level 1 transition there is a little bit smoother for the Doom. It is, I think, powerful enough to just keep on running. That being said, Elements, they have a lot of burst damage within all of their lanes. Undying is just going to lock down these lanes. I think Undying locks his lane down a little bit harder than Lich, at least aggressively so. That's just my opinion, but we also have this Beastmaster for Team Spirit, so these lanes are going to be, to say the least, interesting. I don't think you should feel very comfortable putting a Beastmaster or a Doom, even in like a dual lane capacity, in the mid lane if you're expecting Bane Tiny. I just don't think that those heroes are able to trump that. So it seems like Team Spirit, they're not going to get their hands on Razor, but Viper is still in the pool. It seems like that's probably their safest bet for the lanes, but then I'm not really sure what their draft is trying to do in general, like the whole slow siege plan maybe.
Yeah. Well, and also conspicuously missing from this draft, at least for now, is the Oracle. And it doesn't really seem like either team has a great incentive to pick that hero up, considering that they've already gone for the Lich and the IO. You know, I feel like right now, actually, for Spirit, what they really want to do is just try and, you know, as you were saying there, dominate the lanes, and Undying might be an issue for that, but the more that I think about the combination of a Doom IO in the safe lane, possibly, I really like this a lot, because now you're going to be able to run down the enemy hero and slow them up also, and it could cause a lot of issues, particularly if you even bring the Lich in there and constantly have the creep wave pulled up close to your tier 1 tower. That to me seems like there might be some value there as well, throwing on out the Frost Blasts from the Lich. I don't know if that's the route they're going to go for it, but at least to me, it does feel like a lot of the reason that you end up picking this Doom, and like you said, there's still experimentation that needs to be done, but it's the change that you end up getting with being able to harass so significantly at the early stages. I mean, you take a look at this ability, and it ends up giving you an extra base 40 burn damage on top of your right clicks. That's just insane, and a Luna is going to be the last pick. Very interesting.
This is very interesting indeed. I'm not really sure what their lanes are going to be looking like now. Is it some sort of aggressive lane from Elements, or just straight up dual lanes with like Bane Tiny in the off or something like that? But regardless of what their lanes look, oh god, Team Spirit Graphic Chaos Knight. Okay, so we got a Luna first from Elements, who worth noting is not that great versus Chaos Knight, even though you would think, you know, Eclipse and the glaives and whatever to kill off the illusions. Chaos Knight's going to kill you off a lot faster, almost guaranteed every single time. Luna with Elements, they will be able to actually have decent enough lanes, even going up against this Lich. so that Luna, I would imagine, is going to be able to get a comfortable amount of farm. And then once the push happens, the assassination power of Tiny, I think you kind of think of him kind of like a Bat Rider, in that Elements will have enough pushing power with the Invoker and the Luna, and you always have enough pushing power when you have a Luna. And then Tiny is just that assassin waiting for Team Spirit to mount some sort of defense. Since all three of their cores are melee, that defense is going to be very difficult to walk into. They're walking into an EMP tornado. Team Spirit get absolutely destroyed by EMP. I mean, it is maybe going to be a Forge Spirit build for extra pushing, but these Team Spirit heroes, if they don't Doom Invoker, are going to be completely screwed in the team fights.
Well, the thing that I find really interesting about this also is that it's an Iceberg Chaos Knight. So he's going to be running that hero presumably in the mid-roll. That tends to be where he plays it. I would be a little bit surprised if at this stage in the game they ended up against Invoker also. Might be thinking about doing this is take a look at the they have really moved the duration so much more move here to potentially actually aggressive combo like
CK is a very, very dangerous lane. Like, you just reality rift them in, and then you tether, and then you get that extra slow, and having extra mana on the Chaos Knight is absolutely huge. Like, Chaos Bolt is always going to be 140 mana, and he has 240 max mana right now, so you only get one stun off and one reality rift until you need, like, a bottle or something, and hey, look at that, he has an IO, so he should have bottle regen behind him. They're going up against an Invoker, and Invoker is, you know, not the super glass cannon hero, but it is definitely a vulnerable position here for the Elements mid lane. But then again, they could always just put the Undying here, and having an Undying and Invoker is, you know, perfectly fine for a little while in the mid lane, and that decay is just going to wreck the IO and Chaos Knight. So even though this is a very dangerous two-hero kill lane for Team Spirit, the Undying kind of just throws a huge wrench into all of that. Unless they pick off the Undying, first of all, he's going to have a chance for 2-man decay, gets a good amount of strength from it, but he's still going to get beaten down. The Scorched Earth is also up on Doom. Screen taking a lot of damage. They don't have another Chaos Bolt. Avalanche will slow them down. Looks like Screen should live. Timely Avalanche there from the Tiny, and Elements, well, they almost lose first blood.
Yeah, it's pretty nice for the Tiny to be able to throw out the Avalanche. And I do agree that the Undying actually ended up dropping his branch and then eating a Tango. Considering he was going to have to buy a TP anyways, it kind of makes sense there. But the thing that's kind of interesting about this is that if you think about the way the lane is set up outside of this mid lane now, Invoker, I don't know if he's going to be able to get a ton of help, because right now up top it's Tiny that's alone, and then bottom you're going to be having the Luna and the Bane. So the Undying either has to split his attention between this dual off lane and the up here top, or he has to come back mid to try and help out in the Invoker. And either way, somebody's going to be left a little bit alone. I do kind of like this movement. Well, the other thing is that if he ends up sitting mid, now he's soaking out experience away from the Invoker. It's all a little bit strange and probably slightly frustrating that we have seen Team Spirit go for this very aggressive play across the board, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to punish this for Elements.
Well, I mean, they do have a situation on the bottom lane where Luna should be doing just fine. Bane harasses well enough by himself. With the aura, it just gets disgusting. Up towards top, though, Afterlife and Tiny, they're going to be trading hits. Now that the lanes, at least on top lane, just Tiny versus the Doom, the Doom's Infertile Blade is going to be a pain in the ass for sure for the Tiny to deal with once that does come up. But it is a lane that's possible for the Tiny to have a good time in. Over toward mid lane, Invoker going to get jumped one more time. Sunstrike thrown towards Always Want to Fly will miss. And that should just about be it. Screen is just, yeah, almost completely brick walling. They have to burst down the Invoker so quickly, and the burst on these two is fine, but it's not quite enough to insta-kill a hero, at least not till later. They're going to dive in actually a little bit deeper, gets a 2-second stun, one more right-click, they get the Invoker, and Always Want to Fly Iceberg, they're so weak, but Screen has missed too many decays, I think, and that is going to lead to first blood eventually being drawn by Team Spirit, and they should get the bottles spawn as well. Oh, Sunstrike will miss also. That is just not what Elements wanted to see.
God, IO can just allow you to be so much more aggressive than you would be otherwise, and Undying there definitely taking a whole heck of a lot of beating, as was the Invoker. Does look like they're going to be trading hits up top here, as Afterlife is going to continue to just right-click down this Tiny. I keep on... The thing that's really tough about these is that all of these lanes have pretty intense kill potential. Maybe the bottom lane being the only one that's not super... Well, actually, now that I'm saying this, all of the slows applied right here onto the Bane, they're going to be able to turn this one back around with the Lucent Beam, but the axes are going to fly also a couple more right clicks, and that's going to be second blood as Beastmaster kills off the Bane, and oh man, back in the mid lane, they're going to dive after screen again. A couple more right clicks might be enough. Can they keep him alive there? He ends up throwing out the Chaos Bolt, and that is not going to be able to be a kill, as they were able to take out the Luna off the back of it. So everywhere we look, dives are happening and huge kills coming across the board. The Beastmaster also went down in that engagement.
And I'm pretty sure that this Luna pick is not the right one necessarily for Elements. Illidan's Tiny is just fine, so you know they could have done that, but they have a situation where they need to have multiple heroes on this bottom lane, or else there's no way of being able to slow down the Beastmaster. And now the Beastmaster is joined with either the Lich or anyone else really. Luna +1 isn't necessarily going to be strong enough, since Luna doesn't really become a significant threat until she gets level 6. Up until then, she's fine if she has 3 heroes total, including her with her. But in an only 2-hero situation, killing off Beastmaster seems very, very unlikely, especially with the Beastmaster Lich dual lane. And their top lane is really suffering because Tiny doesn't have the Bane with him. So these lanes from Elements just not really working out. It kind of feels like Team Spirit have more heroes picked right now, since their lane's just being dominated that much harder.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you have this IO that traditionally isn't a very... it's not going to be somebody who can be aggressive themselves, but they're just going to be able to have the ability to play that much more aggressive, as it looks like the Doom is going to be able to kill off this Tiny. And everywhere you look, this is what I was talking about with the way that this hero is so much more able to trade. I mean, you're going to be able to trade more efficiently because you're dealing an extra 40 damage on a 16-second cooldown with your right click, but then also you're able to get a significant number of more right clicks on top of your opponents because you're applying that 0.3 second mini stun that comes out. It's just devastating, the laning presence that you have, and you're already running faster than your opponent. I thought that he was going to have to run with the IO there, but it really doesn't need to be the case. He's got fast enough movement speed with the Scorched Earth, and this hero feels incredibly powerful to me at this point in time.
Doom versus one melee hero, especially a Tiny, that just seems like such a slanted matchup towards the Doom. There are definitely going to be scenarios where Doom is 1v1 versus a non-Tiny hero, like I would say versus a Luna, but that might even just be worse for the Doom. But in this situation, there's no way that they're going to beat that. Over towards bottom lane now, they're going to jump in towards Go Black. Lich will just get immediately burst down since Screen has finally arrived. 3 heroes with the Luna. That's what you need. That's how you get value out of the Lunar Blessing. That'll get them a very easy kill. Yeah, but Doom going up against 1 hero, probably the best bet. Versus 2 heroes, there's really no way, I think, for Afterlife to beat that lane if it is going to be a Bane Tiny. So, yeah, they're kind of just Team Spirit running into fortunate lanes up on the top lane at the very least, and they have Doom now, the ultimate Doom. They don't have Scorched Earth, but they have an IO. Is that good enough to kill off a Tiny?
I'm not sure. It seems a little bit tough. Meanwhile, Beastmaster is going to scout out that there are 4 heroes here. Do they actually get the kill? With the Doom committed, the Spirits are coming out, the right clicks. They are going to be able to kill him off, and no rotation is going to be there in time. The IO does fall, but at the cost of the Tiny. And meanwhile, now a bit more pressure is being applied here on the bottom lane. There's 4 heroes rotated down. We had 1 hero rotate out. There's a lot of committed here, but it feels almost like they can't even sustain in the lanes that they're in right now, and trying to switch things up a little bit and apply pressure to the tower, but they're not able to really get it. And the whole time through, you just have the CK up top or in the mid lane here who's continuing to free farm. I mean, he's second highest on the net worth, 25 last hits, 17 denies, and you compare this to the Invoker who's 17 and 6. Or 26 and 18 as opposed to 17 and 6. It's really a rough matchup at this point. All 3 cores are top of the net worth for Team Spirit.
And their CK is getting some free experience. He's going to jump in towards the Invoker. Let's see how much damage he can do by himself. Oh, Io's going to come in and ruin the fun. Soul Rip is going to be there for the Invoker. They drop the Tombstone as well, but Screen, he's out of mana right now. He's going to try to go for Always Wanna Fly. They drop the Tombstone. Always Wanna Fly still may fall. A short tornado being thrown out. He will get hit with a 1-second stun. Does a lot of damage, not quite enough stun duration to capitalize off of it. And it seems like the Io sticking around the Tombstone for a little bit too long is going to be the casualty of war there. I think that was maybe just a little bit of a greedy move there from that IO to stick around like that.
And you take a look at the experience on these cores. You take a look at the level. At that point in time, Undyne was very heavily the lowest leveled hero in the game, and it definitely needed to be able to happen for them to get back into this one. And I'm still not sure if it's going to be enough, but the key thing is that they're starting to find at least a few moments of openings. Doom right now, though, 3,100 net worth on him. He's already got phase boots. He's going to be able to build into a quick Vlad's, I'm assuming, based upon this Ring of Protection. But back in the mid lane, they're going to be able to lay down the Quas Wex. It's going to start to go out, but Ghostwalk is not going to be able to save them. They already get the overcharge. Are they going to be able to find this kill? This is very bold. They are going to be able to find it, but always want to fly. Might end up paying for it with his life. Iceberg needs to get out if you're pretty freaking tanky, and I think that he should be fine. Although the K-stacks are still going, and the creeps are chasing. Little zombie going after him. Meanwhile, in the top lane, they were rotating 3 to find the kill on the Doom, which he does eventually go down, but they keep their CK alive key. Is a very key moment, and Luna able to deny out the Bane also. 6 kills so far on each team for in the 8-minute mark. They're not really holding anything back at this point in time.
I would expect nothing less. Absolutely nothing less. This Undying, as we can already see, is causing quite a few problems for the CK and the IO, since they're not able to 100 to 0 the Invoker just in the duration of one combo. Like if it was a Tiny here, then Invoker would just be dead, and Undying would actually come in too late. But CK, even though he is a decently high level, needs his skills maxed out before he has a chance of being able to pop off that insta-kill. And Undying's Tombstone is just being dropped every time, and Team Spirit are losing heroes because of it. Now, it's still worth it for them to be killing off Invoker at the cost of any support hero that they have, so they should continue to look to play that way. They just have to make sure that Iceberg survives. Once he gets his drums up, if he's able to build up towards an armlet, then he can do this versus any other given hero. He might not even need the IO in the future to make that happen. Right now, though, it is going to be the Tiny leaving the top lane, leaving that one to the Luna, roaming around towards mid with King R. They're both smoked up, and they can insta-kill some of these heroes right now, so whoever they run into is going to be in for sad times.
Well, the other thing that I just realized, and definitely need to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this game right here, is that Invoker currently level 5. He's the lowest level in the game. And for a hero that so desperately needs levels to be efficient, this is crippling right now. And the fact that he's died in lane, the fact that they were able to out CS him, you know, you mentioned back before the Luna pick, and was that going to be enough? It's not necessarily that this Invoker has been playing the game terribly. It's mainly just off the back of the fact that we've been having too much pressure applied from all these lanes, and this is something that we talked about in the draft a little bit, that you need to be able to keep these heroes alive here. And if you've got, you know, the supports and a couple of heroes that need to be babysat, what are you going to do at the end of the day? They're going to rotate on in here. IO just picks on up a haste rune, and I don't know if they're going to be able to punish this. They do rotate in. There's going to be the avalanche. Gripping on up, always want to fly, but then the 4-second stun on King R. This could be a big problem. Doom committed now onto the Tiny. He's not going to be there anymore, and meanwhile, the Lich comes in for a little bit more damage off the back of it. There's Roar committed onto the Luna. They're going to keep chasing on Iceberg for the, not going to be able to find Invoker, but they still kill off the Luna, and thinking about going a bit deeper, my goodness, that is 2 quick kills, but the bigger thing is that it just doesn't feel at all like they're going to be capable of standing up to this lineup right now.
I don't know why the Luna thought a 1v4 would be a good idea. It certainly was not. So kind of an unnecessary casualty there by the Element side. They're going to relocate up towards top now, where the Tiny's still farming. He's very weak. 4-second stun. He's going to get beaten down. Brainsap on always want to fly. This IO has stick charges. He will use them. Decay, Soul Rip, 19 HP. Tombstone, 1 zombie's all they need, but they can't quite get it. No, they do with the Decay. Iceberg has a stun along with the Doom. It seems like they're not going to want to tango underneath that Tombstone, but if elements go a little bit too far, they get pulled into the tower. Iceberg is not going to make any sort of aggressive play whatsoever. They lose the IO, they gain the Tiny. Again, another worthy trade here for Team Spirit. And another problem that Elements have to deal with right now is the fact that Beastmaster actually has a completed Necro Book. He's somehow on top of the net worth chart above a Doom. I don't know how Beastmaster does that. I guess 2-1-1 doesn't exactly hurt, but having a Necro Book means that he can actually solo kill some of these heroes. Not to mention he has so many units to absorb Eclipse Beams. This Beastmaster is maybe like even more powerful than the CK and IO. He could solo kill so easily.
Yeah, and the other thing that you're looking at here is, like, I mean, Iceberg has his drums. The difference in terms of team net worth is right around 2,000, but it feels so much more than that because a lot of the gold that you have actually is on some of those other heroes that don't really need it as much. I mean, the biggest one for me, at least, is this Invoker, who does have the highest net worth for his team, but he only has level 7 right now. So all of his abilities are that much less effective, and even though you're able to get off those, you know, Quaswex tornadoes that are coming out, it's really not doing as much damage as you would hope at this stage in the game for that sort of hero that's been touted as possibly one of the most broken heroes in the patch. It really hasn't felt like it. Screen is going to keep on getting chased down here. I don't think that they're going to be able to find a kill, but at least applying a pressure just by their presence being over here, and maybe they do end up going for it. Bane runs on into him. Doom is going to be committed a second or two. Eclipse comes out, but it's after the Doom comes out, and now Iceberg is going to fall. Always Want to Fly going down. The Bane is going to nightmare him up, and all of a sudden, everything goes wrong for Team Spirit. Always Want to Fly is going to fall, and the TP away from Afterlife is going to be the saving grace. They do throw out the Frost Blast off the back of it and Screen to go up and really, really low. They were able to find that one kill on the Luna with the Lich, so a little bit of a silver lining there as they lost their CK and their IO but took down the enemy carry regardless.
I think that's just Team Spirit getting a little bit too comfortable with their current position, how they've taken the previous fights, and feeling pretty good where they should not be feeling very good. Again, if they got the Eclipse on the Luna, no Eclipse, or they got the Doom on the Luna, no Eclipse would have meant that they would have almost instantly won that fight. Luna without her spells right now, very, very bad as a hero. So they needed to have that happen, and it didn't. So you walk in with just 3 heroes into an Eclipse. It's only level 1 Eclipse, but it's still going to hurt like hell, especially when there's an Undying Tombstone also deployed. So yeah, Team Spirit maybe thinking if there's fewer heroes there, maybe thinking if they can get the jump on the Luna instead of vice versa. But you know, either way, they also do use the relocate, or try to use the relocate from Always Want to Fly. It gets interrupted, and he now has it on cooldown for another 20 seconds. So that type of fight going really well for the Elements side, and those are the type of fights you would expect Invoker to be like the driving force. Not exactly the Luna, but Invoker, he's got a little bit of free space down the bottom lane. He's going to go straight towards that Orchid. Assassinating heroes on the Team Spirit side is going to be difficult. Io and Lich are really the only 2 that he can kill off very easily. Everyone else is going to take a lot of effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Tiny now picking up the Invis Rune and activating it. This could be maybe something that they end up looking towards to find an initiation. He's close to his Blink Dagger, which I'm assuming he's going for. For the straight Brown Boots Blink, it's very much a shotgun build, and he needs to be able to find kills with this, because if he doesn't find any kills at this point in time, his farming rate is going to be so much lower, and now going to run on into the mid lane here. The other thing that they ended up seeing last time was that Beastmaster wasn't there. A huge tornado. The initiation is going to come down. Always Want to Fly and Iceberg both die very quickly. Afterlife might end up getting away from her, but the Lucent Beam is just too strong. The burst damage is going to be able to take him down, and level 2 Necrobook or not, when you get that many heroes with an EMP Tornado, it's going to be able to be a kill. And now jumping forward, tossing the Zombie Man onto the Lich. The fight recap so far is going to be a 2,000 gold swing. It looks like Lich might be able to survive. No, one last Lucent Beam going to come in and finish him off there. Really well played across the board there by Elements.
Alright, so the burst damage after the EMP Tornado, I mean, the Avalanche toss and whatnot, the beams, that all worked really well for Elements, but even if they just EMP Tornadoed them, Team Spirit actually have no way of responding to that. It's not a maxed out EMP just yet, but Chaos Knight, if he gets hit with this EMP, can he actually cast a Bolt? How much mana burn is this? 400? Yeah, he just can't cast a Chaos Bolt, so EMP again is going to be the bane of, oh, they jump up towards top lane and kill off the Tiny. That's decent. Ramsey's doing most of the work, and Iceberg Always Want to Fly. They'll stick around, try to pick off this tower. Is there any chance that they actually intercept these heroes? Here comes a tornado. It's going to be dodged by the relocate back. So it's the loss of the Tiny, but he has Blink Dagger, so not a big deal. EMP is just going to destroy Team Spirit, and that was a 4-hero EMP tornado. There's no coming back from that in a team fight if you're Team Spirit, so they just have to make sure to not line up next time, I suppose. But if General lands another tornado EMP like that with an Eclipse next time, it's just so impossible for Team Spirit to respond to that unless they get like a pipe or something, or 4 staffs to try to disengage from that. Team Spirit, they really can't afford to be initiated upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the Lich going for this mechanism here, it's going to mean that their push-up, their split, group together and push potential is that much more effective. This has really been the answer for Elements that they've had to go to, is trying to 5-man as much as possible, or even just 4-man to get a bit more of experience up on the Invoker as he does split pushy things off to the side. And right now, Team Spirit haven't really responded to that. They haven't sort of taken the initiative to go back through, and their lineup doesn't work super well until you end up getting the mechanism up on the Lich. So I think that they're still in an okay position. They're starting to lose some towers, and the net worth lead is definitely into the favor of Elements, but the experience is still in the favor of Team Spirit, and as long as they don't get caught out and picked off in these moments right here, I think that they're going to be in an okay spot. And now immediately Iceberg and always want to fly backing off, realizing, you know what, nobody else is here, time to get out of dodge, while the rest of their team is farming across the rest of the map. So all in all, this to me feels like the proper response, and then taking the fights once you end up getting those key couple of items on. And I wouldn't hate to see something like Arcane Boots come up next on the IO. I feel like that's probably really worth it just because of the power of that EMP Tornado, and they're wrapping around on the Iceberg. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get this one out of here, though. We do still have the IO. Oh, he gets jumped on, though. They ended up spotting him out, and just like that, that is going to be able to be enough. There's the Eclipse Pop. He's able to get off the Phantasm, so breaking the Fiend's grip, but Iceberg is still going to fall, I believe. I don't think that there's enough bounces there to find the kill on to the Bane. They're going to keep on jumping. They're Getch on there to the Lich. He's going to get lifted up in the Tornado, and he's freaking dead. I believe, yeah, the Urn Charge should finish him off as the Nightmare finishes the last couple of ticks. But while this has all been happening, Tier 2 tower falls, and the Tier 3 is also going to fall in the top lane. So, tit for tat, they go back and forth, returning and just going to doom on up the Luna. Look at the damage that they're doing with this. That is a dead freaking hero, and now also going to be able to beat on down this Bane. Back and forth we go. My god, this Doom is just a beast.
They're gonna take Raxes. They're trying to avalanche toss in the Doom, but Tiny gets roared and then immediately bursted down. Dude, okay, first of all, we weren't kidding when we said Elements Death Ball and their 5-man is very dangerous, and that's what we saw over in mid. But I also wasn't kidding when I said Beastmaster may just be the most dangerous hero on the map right now, because he had a whole army of things there. Can they kill off this stupid siege creep before it takes down their range racks? Invoker, you're focusing the wrong thing.
Oh.
Cardi. Cold snap! Oh, he saves it!
The cold snapped siege creep. That's freaking wonderful. Yeah, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Well, what a crazy series of events. You end up losing off like 3 heroes in the mid lane. It looks like it's terrible, but then while all this is happening, you're losing towers and racks up in the top lane. It's actually going to be around a 4,000 net worth lead into the favor of Team Spirit off the back of that, and experience is still into their lead also. And now they have the pressure of a whole lane of racks that's going up against them. All they need is to get one other right click in there. Even Io could probably take down that racks with one more hit and
hit it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, just make it happen, guys. I feel like, though, with all of the Tier 1s still up, it's not really the worst thing in the world for Elements, but it's definitely disconcerting that when you go up to and try and face off against Afterlife and the Beastmaster, you're not able to take out either of them, and in fact you end up losing 2 or 3 heroes.
Ramses does get his army off, and they see King R, therefore they're going to roar him and beat him down. Beastmaster may have no mana, but he got those books off beforehand, mostly for that True Sight, so they saw the Bane who was trying to glimmer in and be sneaky. I guess they do get the relocate in from the Always Want to Fly on Iceberg. Where are they going to return to? Uh-oh, over in mid. It's always only the IO, but he's going to get out of there before the Blink can come in from the Tiny. I think a Spirit hit him on the return. That kind of sucks. They are going to have to try to race. If they defend, they really need another EMP Tornado to land on everyone, but the army is still going to survive. The Eclipse is not going to do that much. It's only level 1. In fact, it hits, like, no heroes. Iceberg's in the middle of everything. He's going to beat down the Tombstone with Armlet toggled. He's not going to die anytime soon. And that was not a good Eclipse from Illidan. No, they're going to jump forward. Avalanche to the Iceberg. Chain Frost is there, though. They're going to split decently, but Good Game still takes 3 bounces. Or 2 shots, rather. And Cast Knight's going to grab that tiny kill. This is Elements kind of getting picked apart by Team Spirit right now. A little bit of over-aggression, perhaps, but again, 5-manning only really works if you are able to land the EMP Tornado on pretty much everyone and have Tiny capitalize off of that.
I mean, I'm just looking at this Doom right now, and I'm feeling like he's such a ridiculous strong backbone. And when you've got that in combination with the Beastmaster aura that comes out, the amount of damage Doom is dealing right now when he ends up having the Infernal Blade is 40 burn damage on top of the already, like... so he's basically doing about 250 damage just base, and then he also is able to take your percentage, 3.7% of your max HP as damage. So depending upon this hero and how much you're taking, I mean, they're just going to completely and totally crumble. And a hero that would naturally be a little bit more tanky to this, a Tiny, you end up thinking about a Luna who sometimes builds up a lot of HP, currently 1500 right now on her. It doesn't matter that she's only down to 295 HP. She's almost going to get one shot at this point, at this low of an HP by this Doom. It's absolutely ridiculous. And he's hitting for that every 4 seconds now.
There's also BKBs coming up, almost on the Chaos Knight. One is up on the Doom, so the EMP Tornado, it has to start the fight, it has to catch Team Spirit off guard. The Eclipse follow-up is going to be very, very difficult to land from the Luna, as we've already seen. Like, there's so many things that Team Spirit can summon with this Beastmaster, in particular also those Phantasm Illusions, that you can't easily rely on your Eclipse. Elements, they're supposed to be death-falling right now. This is supposed to be the point in time where they're grouped up, using their EMP Tornado power and the Assassination power of the Tiny to force objectives, but Team Spirit, with already taking top lane, like, this scenario is not where Elements plan to be, and they're going to lose range racks up towards top very shortly. They're going to smoke into each other. Necro unit's going to lead the way. Tornado only onto the Beastmaster right now. EMP there as well. They may be able to take down Ramses. Can they bring it down before the war? Yes, they can. They also take the grip onto Afterlife. Iceberg is doing quite a bit of damage. No one is interrupting King R's channel, but now the Chain Frost comes up, and it's going to be the Luna to fall after the Invoker. King R is going to be on the run. They're going to call good game. Mid-fight, they burn everything on the Beastmaster, and they get him. They just don't have enough gas in the tank to kill off everyone else.
What a freaking ridiculous series of events. I mean, I don't want to necessarily blame this on one hero, but at least the combination of the Beastmaster Doom was completely and totally ridiculous, and Elements were not prepared. I'm super excited to see what happens in the next set of games. I mean, this is a best of 5 here, so I don't expect this same type of combo to come out again, but we saw the aggression, we saw the moments of going for the split push that was happening, and it seems to me at least that that is a much more relevant style than it was in the last patch, and I'm super excited